and welcome friends. I am Sakshi Mandwal and our subject expert today is Mr. Shahid Saeed, Executive Editor Today's World Asia and has held several key positions with India's leading media groups such as Hindustan Times, Dainik Jagran, Nai Duniya, The Sunday Indian, UNI, ETV News, Sahara Samay, Focus TV and All India Radio. In today's episode, we shall be talking about reporting that includes how to write a report, news analysis, backgrounders and articles along with understanding the need of writing different forms of scripting. We would learn how each aspect of writing we can master. Objectives. Whenever we think of a medium of mass communication, we generally relate it with news. We all read, listen to and watch news. We can immediately recognize what news is. But it is difficult for us to precisely define news. In this lesson, we will learn the following. To know about some major definitions of news, to understand the characteristics of news, to know how news is written, to learn about structure of a news story, to learn about news analysis, to learn about structure of news analysis, to know about backgrounder, to know about structure of a backgrounder, to know the difference between news analysis and backgrounder. Writing news. It is necessary to know that the purpose of news writing is to impart information. It has been stated that today's news is tomorrow's history. Therefore, it is imperative that news writing is done with a view to providing information that is correct, objective, fair, balanced, accurate, precise and to the point. However, news writing is a skilled craft. Good reporters learn the craft and take it to the level of an art. It can be acquired by dint of hard work, dedication, understanding, sustained and prolonged practice over a period of time. For being successful, one has to have a nose for news, besides being equipped with qualities of head and heart. For effective news writing, one should be particularly skilled, keenly observant, that is hearing and seeing things, events and people, keeping notes and making mental record and finding information sources. It involves asking relevant questions, checking, counter-checking, cross-checking and rechecking information. For news writing, one has to convey maximum information using minimum words. Ordinarily, a complete news item, when written professionally, should answer the following 6 questions. Who is involved? When did the event take place? Where did the event take place? Why did it take place? What did actually take place? How did it take place? These questions are known as the 5 W's and 1 H. Again, a news item will have a wide impact if it interests people directly, makes interesting reading, is a clear statement of facts of an event, concerns what people are interested about, is an event that affects readers' life. Structure. The structure of writing a news story is called the inverted pyramid structure. In this structure of writing, the story begins with the most important information. The structure is as follows. First paragraph, most important point. Second para, second important point, and then prioritize in their order of importance. Overview. Human beings are curious by nature. They are always looking for new things, fresh information about anything and everything that interests them. Newspapers, magazines, books, radio, television and several other mass media have been endeavoring to gather information and disseminate that information to the people looking for such information or curiosities. The most important need that the media fulfills is of providing latest news from the place one is located, news of the region, news of the nation, country and of course of the world. News defines. Generally speaking, news is anything that is new. News is a report of an event that has just taken place. News is a detailed account that provides information or description. It could also include depiction, delineation, statement, and narration of a development, event or occurrence. The event is usually recent, fresh or not known earlier. According to George Hawke, of the University of Georgia, USA, news is both a product and point of view. As a product, news is gathered, processed, packaged. Newspapers, news services, news magazines, radio, television and cable station and networks then present news to their respective audiences. News is something that at a particular moment happens to attract and hold the interest of the reader, viewer or listener. A news story is a fair, accurate, concise, balanced account of a current event that is of interest to a majority of people. News has a very short shelf life. It does not remain newsworthy for long. Several editors and eminent journalists have attempted to define news, but these definitions have not always met the test of the time. Some of these are: news is anything out of the ordinary. News is anything published in a newspaper which interests a large number of people. News is what newspaper people make. Good news is not news. News is anything a big short set. News and truth is not the same thing. The function of news is to signal an event. News is any recent, up-to-date information of an event received from north, east, west and south. News. The legendary American newspaper baron Joseph Pulitzer had once said that news should be original, distinctive, romantic, thrilling, unique, curious, quaint, humorous, odd and apt to be talked about. A former managing editor of the New York Times, Turner Catledge, described news as anything you can find out today that you didn't know before. In simple terms, it can mean what people, readers, listeners, viewers want to know. Characteristics. Despite the several efforts to define the newsworthiness, news still remains undefined. Perhaps it is not amenable to a precise, pithy definition or an easy explanation. But news has usually the following ingredients or characteristics: timelines, proximity, prominence, consequence, human interest, unusual events like mysteries, conflict, tragedies. The following are different categories of news: novelty, personal impact, money, crime, sex, magnitude, religion, disaster, humor, the underdog, science, entertainment, weather, food, minorities, passion. News analysis. A news analysis writer is a lot like an emergency room doctor. There is a patient on the table in front of him. The patient could be a thief or a saint, but it doesn't matter to the doctor, because if the doctor is to perform professionally, he or she will suspend personal feelings and take the case wherever it needs to go. News analysis is that type of writing in which the writer explains the significance and importance of a particular development or event. News stories are written on the basis of facts gathered from the spot or collected from several other sources. You would have seen that most news events are forgotten after they appear in newspapers. But there are certain news events which are of great importance in several ways. Quite often, if a particular development takes place, several avenues open up for further reporting. Why is it important to be critical consumers of news media? How do we discern fact from opinion and in other news reports? The students should carefully consider the difference between fact and opinion and create guiding questions to help discern between the two when reading a news or opinion piece from any news source. Finally, they should use their guiding questions to compare two pieces on the same news event, separating opinion from fact on the sentence level.
Normally, what we teach our reporters, what is taught in the academia, is basically that reporter's job is to give the facts, which is not correct as a matter of fact, because he is a human being. We are dealing with in human affairs. So, some element of his personal predilection and proclivities will also is bound to be there. Now, after that, what happens that another change has taken place. News, if it is above a special correspondent who is really, giving that news, a special correspondent was allowed to give his own version in a form of comment blended with news items. Apart from that, we developed a concept of op-ed page, means editorial page, and right by the other side of the page, opposite that editorial page, was op-ed page, where special correspondents, senior journalists, they used to write their own articles giving a complete detail of news analysis as to how this news developed and how we analyzed it. So in print media, even today, that concept continues, and news analysis is, although on the bottom is spread most of the time in newspapers, you will find news analysis by a special correspondent or senior persons in the field. But we have given another page for that, and that is how news analyst character got changed. Now, in a complex social situation where inter-institution, intra-institution tussles are there, naturally a news cannot be just a fact. We will have to give various dimensions of the news. We will have to present that. So therefore, a reporter cannot just give facts and be done with that. So reporter has to give some element of his personal assessment, and then in the bottom is spread, you might as well give a good story with complete analysis, and on op-ed page, maybe after 24 hours, you analyze that news. Say for example, Amir's statement. Next 3 days, it was thoroughly analyzed, every bit of it, every word of it, the location, the conjecture, the situation, and then it was given to the masses to assess for themselves as to what exactly Amir had said and how it is it should be taken. That is how news analysis got into the system. Now in television, there was one bare fact, because television has one basic benefit, that it can give exact what you want to see, exactly what the picture is, exactly what the situation is, because it is photography, it is videography. Now the second aspect was to analyze that situation. In television, we developed a concept, it's been now 6 years. We developed the concept of studio discussions, that is basically news analysis. We give contrarian views, we call the people from Congress, BJP, Samajwadi Party, and all the parties, their spokesmen give their views, and then we have an institution of independent observers. These independent observers give the complete independent view, bereft of any political affiliation. That is how this develops. Studio discussion, I think, is one of the best things that Indian journalism has been doing, notwithstanding the fact that the quality of this studio discussion is not that sublime. Still, we give volume of information, we give we develop logic power of the society and leave it to the society to understand and decide as to what exactly the situation is. That is how studio discussion is perhaps the best thing which is developing the or strengthening the Indian democracy.
Warm up. In its daily news pages, a newspaper presents both news coverage and other perspective on events. These special forms, news analysis articles, columns and others, adhere to standards different from those of the editorial and op-ed pages. Opposite the editorial page. All articles, columns, editorials and contributions in the newspaper are subject to the same requirements of factual accuracy. Post, project or print the following questions to guide the hunt. What article appears in the upper left-hand corner of the home page? What kind of article is it? News or opinion? What article is featured in the middle of the home page with the picture? Is it news or opinion? What heading do you see in the box on the right-hand side of the home page? What can you assume about the articles whose headlines you see here? Write the headline of the editorial. What op-ed, page opposite to the editorial page, pieces do you see in today's paper? Write the names of the columnists whose work appears in today's paper. Write down 2 headlines in the art section. Are these news or opinion articles? Write down 2 headlines from health. Are these news or opinion articles? After you have finished your hunt, you should try to find out where in a newspaper you are most likely to find news stories. When you located a news story, how did you know it was a news? What is the difference between news and news analysis? The Reader's Guide can help. Where would you most likely to find opinion pieces? How do you know their opinion? Can you find a piece in which facts and opinions mingle? Is it always clear what's a fact and what's an opinion? Why or why not? Why is it important to be able to tell the difference between fact and opinion when consuming news? Related. In a piece on the topic of fact and opinion in news headlined, Digital India to transform the way India will live, work, Modi's story is as follows. In his speech at the Digital India dinner at San Jose in US, Prime Minister Narendra Modi told US tech greats the way technology was helping make connectivity easier, with the internet, mobile phone and Skype touching the lives not only of farmers, villagers and those living in cities, but also connecting doctors in India with hospitals in other countries. That is the simple news. An analysis can be opinionated. What some call opinion, others call interpretive journalism. It's not that editors have decided to abandon the traditional virtues of objective journalism, but some newspapers are increasingly home to voices not merely in reportage as editors commission work, bearing the author's distinctive point of view. Activity. From here, students should begin to look at reporting and opinion pieces to analyze them for their mix of fact and opinion on the sentence level. One way to do this is to choose two pieces about the same big news event, one a factual news report and the other an interpretive news analysis, and compare them. For example, you might choose the killing of Osama bin Laden in 2011 and look at both the news article from May 1st, 2011. Bin Laden is dead, Obama says, as well as the news analysis from May 2nd, 2011. President's vow fulfilled. Here are the opening sentences of each piece. You might read them aloud and would understand that the first one is the straight news report and the second one, news analysis. News 1. Osama bin Laden, the mastermind of the most devastating attack on American soil in modern times and the most hunted man in the world, was killed in a firefight with United States forces in Pakistan, President Obama announced on Sunday. Analysis. Second, President Obama's announcement late Sunday that Osama bin Laden had been killed delivered not only a long-awaited prize to the United States, but also a significant victory for Obama, whose foreign policy has been the subject of persistent criticism by his rivals.
Factual news. What do you mean by factual news? Means, is he reeling out government gadget? Is he reeling out some government notification? News is, suppose for example, news is that 5 persons have been killed in a bus accident. Should the reporter give this much and be done with that? Is it not equally important that the driver was drunk? If he has this information that driver was drunk, if he has the information in this particular area, this curb is wrong and therefore several accidents have taken place at this particular curb. Should he not give it? So, fact is itself a misnomer. You add the facts and then you will connect one fact to the other and then you will develop a perception about that situation. So, therefore, bare fact is not news. You will have willy-nilly to incorporate other facts to assess as to why this has happened. Like this accident example, if there are several accidents taking place at a particular place at a particular curb, we will have to give that to ensure that the state government or the government takes cognizance of this problem and make the curb in a different way. So, I mean bare fact is not news. You will have to give some element of your personal assessment of the situation. Therefore, it cannot be. And interpretative news, like in the same example or any other example, wheat production has gone down. Now, availability of urea was an issue, or farmers did not have sufficient money to buy urea is another factor. Then farmers have shifted to some other crop is third factor. All these factors have to be incorporated if you have to make that news really worthwhile. And we are not producing government notification, government gadget. Therefore, news character is always, it is willy-nilly bound to carry some element of news. It depends upon the time, it depends upon the size, it depends upon the situation. Otherwise, if you can incorporate other related issues which has some impact or some bearing on that particular fact, it is bound to be given to the masses. That is how news cannot be bereft of news analysis. It has to be there. Yes, who is analyzing, at what level he is analyzing, is a reporter who is just 2 years in service. Can he analyze it with the social impact? I think he cannot. Therefore, if there is a special correspondent who is analyzing this, it will obviously be of a different nature, because he is completely conversant with the social context. He is conversant with the economic factor. Therefore, a news cannot be a plain fact.
Framing analysis. It is also important to determine how stories are framed. Frames reflect a specific viewpoint or mindset. An analysis of how a story is framed involves looking at a story's content and seeing how reporters connect its topics to the archetypal stories that already exist within people's minds. There are, for example, some classic archetypal story frames such as the self-made man story and the hero takes a fall story. These story frames carry with them strong associations that can be negative or positive, and their use tends to activate those associations in the minds of readers and viewers. For instance, the self-made man frame carries with it the positive associations of hard work and deserved success. On the opposite end of the spectrum, the hero takes a fall story can carry with it negative associations such as he behaved badly, made mistakes, or was never who he claimed to be. Going further, structuring the analysis. When writing the analysis, begin with an executive summary that includes an introduction, the purpose of the analysis, and its major findings. The executive summary is followed by the methodology, the topic analysis, the framing analysis, the spokesperson analysis, and conclusions and recommendations. Backgrounder. As the newspapers strive to provide all kinds of information on all possible subjects of current interest, there are some issues which remain in the news and are current for years. A backgrounder is meant to provide information on a subject in a chronological order to enable reader to put an issue in a proper perspective. Generally, a backgrounder traces the subject from the date when it first attracted the news media's attention. For example, if the president's rule is imposed in a particular state due to bad law and order problems, the backgrounder will give the complete details when and have state come under president's rule. In the international perspective, if there is a coup d'etat in any country, the backgrounder will explain the history of the nation and whether earlier such exigencies took place. It will also explain the reasons for the current and previous such emergencies and their results. In case of earthquakes, floods or famines, also the backgrounders provide in a chronological order the earlier such happenings with lists of human lives lost, financial losses, properties, other related losses. Importance for backgrounder. For writing a backgrounder of a particular problem, one will have to first explain the current development. It follows the trace of the earlier such events. This would be done in a logical and historical chronological order, giving date, month and year of each related happening. Also, other details such as losses of human lives, properties, etc. will have to be given. In addition, how did the situation return to normal will also need to be given. These could be explained by giving charts, pictures or by other such visual materials. The backgrounder is written in a simple language. The purpose is to inform the reader about the historical and chronological information about the fresh developments of the happenings. Difference between news analysis and backgrounder. A news analysis writer could express his or her opinion, criticize, applaud or condemn the development. A backgrounder does not do so. The backgrounder is an unbiased, straightforward, simple historical explanation of the issue or subject. The news analysis explains the significance, the cause and effect of an issue. The backgrounder goes to the history and chronology of the event. A backgrounder has to contain extensive facts and figures, statistics, tables and graphs, and pictures, the news analysis need not to do that in such details. Analysis of a newspaper article. Analyzing a newspaper or a magazine article requires specific skills which few students acquire without being deliberately taught and practiced. The objective is to teach students to identify the main idea of article, the reason for it being written, and show students how to analyze and examine different viewpoints in news articles. The following questions can be used for analyzing articles. What event led to the writing of the article? What is the main idea of the article? Select several facts or arguments, 3 if possible, which support the main idea. Does the author provide enough factual material to support his ideas? Quotes, witnesses, provide statistics, dates, his sources of information. Was he an eyewitness to events, or was the information obtained through a news service? Is the reportage, in your opinion, true, balanced, or biased? Explain. Are different viewpoints presented? Is this article an editorial, author's own ideas? Is it informative? Is it convincing? Is it balanced? What do you think of the article and its point of view? Explain. You may try to understand 1. What the text says explicitly and make logical inferences from it. Cite specific textual evidence when writing or speaking to support conclusions drawn from the text. Second, analyze how and why individuals, events, and ideas develop and interact over the course of a text. Third, interpret words and phrases as they are used in a text, including determining technical, connotative, and figurative meanings, and analyze how specific word choices shape meaning or tone. Fourth, analyze the structure of texts, including how specific sentences, paragraphs, and larger portions. Fifth, delineate and evaluate the argument and specific claims in a text, including the validity of the reasoning as well as the relevance and sufficiency of the evidence. Sixth, read and comprehend complex literary and informational texts independently and proficiently. Writing. Number 1. Write informative or explanatory text to examine and convey complex ideas and information clearly and accurately through the effective selection, organization, and analysis of content. 2. Produce clear and coherent writing in which the development, organization, and style are appropriate to task, purpose, and audience. 3. Develop and strengthen writing as needed by planning, revising, editing, rewriting, or trying a new approach. Speaking and listening. 1. Prepare for and participate effectively in a range of conversations and collaborations with diverse partners, building on other ideas and expressing their own clearly and persuasively. 2. Integrate and evaluate information presented in diverse media and formats, including visually, quantitatively, and orally. 3rd, evaluate a speaker's point of view, reasoning, and use of evidence and rhetoric. 4th, present information, findings, and supporting evidence such that listeners can follow the line of reasoning and the organization, development, and style are appropriate to task, purpose, and audience. Language. Demonstrate command of the conventions of standard English grammar and usage when writing or speaking. Answer the above questions using the article, framed or guilty. Did Talwars really kill Arushi Hemraj? According to Dainik Bhaskar, what are the main points to judge whether the Talwars really killed Arushi Hemraj? What explanation does Dainik Bhaskar offer as the reason for the murder? Compare between legally admissible evidence versus investigation defining confessions. What happened to the purple color pillow? What is CBI's attitude towards the Talwar couple? With this, we conclude this session of specializations in the field of writing news analysis, backgrounders, and article. That's all for today. Thanks and goodbye.